What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dee, and today I have something I really need to talk about. So I don't know if I expressed that I don't really watch TV and stuff. I have certain shows that I like. So if you haven't noticed, one of my shows that I do like watching is RuPaul's Drag Race. And another show that I do like watching is Sex and the City. So when I was probably 6 when the show actually aired on TV, I had no business watching it, but I watched it anyway. And to tell you the truth, it was one of my favorite shows. It still is. And it's based on the 90s. So if you don't know what Sex and the City is, it's based on New York City, where I live. So I feel like I could relate to living in New York. And it's just like all of them were so fashionable. They all had good jobs. They all just had money, and they just believed in love, labels, and good sex. And I actually really do like the show a lot. And I was just scrolling through my email. Like, I literally just got HBO Max. I know. I don't know. I don't really watch too many things. So I was like, I don't want to pay for streaming services and not really use it. But I was like, you know what? Let me just get HBO Max anyway, because I don't want to go to the movies. And I saw an email that came to my phone, and it said that basically like there was a new Sex and the City show. So months ago, like months ago, I heard on the Breakfast Club that they were actually going to do like a Sex and the City reboot, but they wasn't sure if they were gonna have Samantha on the show, because if you don't know, Kim Cattrall, the lady who plays Samantha, actually has beef with the person who plays Carrie, which is Sarah Jessica Parker. Like, they have real life beef. So she didn't want to be on the show, but it's like, how do you make a show without the 4 main characters of the show? Like, they've been in that show for so long. Like, all original girls were there for all 6 seasons, and they have 2 movies. So how are you going to continue the show without her? But I guess they did anyway, because I literally just saw a picture of the 3 of them without Kim Cattrall. So I was like, you know what? I have to watch it. I have to watch it. I can't be a Sex and the City fan and not watch it. So I watched it, and now we have to talk about it. Like, we have to. And if you're a Sex and the City fan, please, let's comment. Let's talk about it, because I want to know what you think. But this is going to be my review for the show. So before we get into it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other video from me. Let's get into it. Now, if you're like a fan of Sex and the City, then I don't really need to explain Sex and the City, because like, you're a fan. But if you're watching this, and I don't know, I want to say, like, I don't know why you would watch this, because, you know, it's me. But like, if you don't know what Sex and the City is, it is like a show based on in the 90s to like the early 2000s. It's based around a girl named Carrie, who is living her life in New York City as a writer. She has a sex column in a newspaper, and she's just living her best life with her 4 best friends looking for love, right? And she loves shoes. So that's what the show is. It's been aired on HBO, and it has 6 seasons. And after the 6 seasons, it has 2 movies. And one of the biggest things in the whole show is that it was really revolved around carrying her life and her life with her 3 friends. But the biggest thing was her relationship with the guy that we know as Mr. Big, all the way from season 1 to the end of season 6, where we finally found out his name. Then they have 2 movies, and the first movie, she basically got married to Big, and then the second movie was kind of showing her life and how it's been like after marriage, you know? So, warning, before you get into it, if you have not seen the show, do not watch this review. So if you did not see, and I'm not talking about Sex and the City, I'm talking about if you did not watch the new show, and it's called And Just Like That, right? If you did not watch the new one and you want to watch it, do not watch this review. because it's gonna have major spoilers, right? So I'm also gonna have in the title, it's gonna say spoiler alert. So if you do not want to learn what happened before you watch it, do not watch this, like, because I'm gonna spoil all the tea. Right? So I was kind of shocked because, like, when I first saw it, I did not see Samantha, aka Kim Cattrall, and I was thinking, like, how are they gonna do the show without her? Because now, like, the new show is called And Just Like That, and if you don't know why it's really called that, it's because if you notice, when Carrie is writing, when something major happens, she always says "and just like that." So I get it. So I'm feeling like the theme of the show is gonna be like, they're just gonna hit you with a lot of major changes. It is gonna be like, okay, everything is normal, and then it's gonna be something drastic. Normal and then drastic. And that's exactly what happened in the very first episode. So now I get it. They're older. They're in their 50s. So Sex and the City started with them in their 30s. The movies revolved their lives in their 40s, and now And Just Like That is going to revolve their life in their 50s. Now, how I feel about Samantha not being in the show, it kind of sucks because Samantha was the person who really brought the sex. So it is called Sex and the City. I feel like each girl brought something different, and Samantha was really heavily revolved around the sex. All the sex conversation came from her, and the wildest things came from her. So I guess, like, I would say, like, as older women, maybe like older women aren't that sexual. I would think like someone in their 50s aren't as sexual as you would be in your 30s. Most likely you're married, you're settled down, you're used to each other. You're just trying to survive, because in times like this, like, it's scary. So you're just trying to survive, make sure your knees don't hurt. I don't know. I'm not in my 50s, so can't tell you, but like, I would think that the conversations would be more about marriage and kids than dating and sex as an older woman, you know? So I would feel like, and then it kind of just shows, like, there was a point that she said, like, I thought, you know, the four of us would be friends forever. Relationships come and go just like friendships. Like, you could be friends with people for years, and then all of a sudden you're just not friends anymore. And I just feel like it just shows a real part of life. So I feel like it kind of sucks because you don't have that lively person as Samantha, but then they can play on it really good and show it's just literally a part of growing up. Like, some people are just not with you to the end, and it's okay. It's life. Like, people make new friends all the time, like, you know. So that's how I kind of feel without having Samantha. I feel like they could still do a lot of things, but they just gotta play it right. So HBO did release the first 2 episodes together back to back, and I believe it's going to air every Thursday. So this Thursday that's coming up, I don't even know if I'm gonna release this video by the time episode 3 comes out, but when I'm recording this, episode 3 should be coming out in 2 days. But so far I did see episode 1 and 2, right? So episode 1, you're kind of just seeing Carrie living her life with Big, and she's on a podcast. Miranda's back in school, and Brady's all grown up, and Charlotte, you know, she has her 2 girls, they're all grown up, and you kind of just see how their lives played up. And then they're showing like that they're older, like Steve can't really hear out of one ear that great. Harry, like, everybody just, you see like the age, but it's like, and you just see the kids grow up. Remember when in like the second movie, Lily was just like a crying baby. Now she's a grown-up who doesn't feel comfortable being in dresses. Like, she feels comfortable just being herself and expressing herself, while Lily is more, she's more like Charlotte. She's more like preppy. Like, I don't mind wearing the cute dresses. I like to outperform myself and be an overachiever, you know? And what else? I feel like Carrie's still the same Carrie. You know, she doesn't have any kids. She's just living her life with Big. They're planning to go up to the house in Hamptons. But now I feel like she was very popular in the 90s. And even when in the original show, Sex and the City, I feel like she just had her ways. Like, she wasn't really adjusted to certain things. Like, never see her like watch TV or like even want to use like an iPhone or stuff. Like, she's just old fashioned. And then I feel like now with this generation, she's not really catch up to the times, because she's in a podcast, you know, and in the podcast they were like talking about sex, and she seemed like she was way too shy to talk about it. And it was like, why? Like, you were a huge sex columnist in the 90s. Like, why are you holding yourself back from certain conversations? Like, I feel like it's so normal to talk about it. It's like, why are you being so shy? You know? So, and then I noticed like she seemed like she's having issues with her memory, like short-term memory, because you'll say something and she'll be like, huh? After, like, she'll forget like not too long what she was just talking about. So there's something else that's going on with Carrie. I don't know if they're gonna touch on it a little bit more later, but it just is making it kind of like they're setting it up that it's a little bit noticeable, but no one's saying anything, right? The only person who kind of realized something happened with her was Miranda, but so far no one else brought up anything, right? Now Miranda, you know, she has Brady, and I'm kind of surprised what she's like kind of doing with Brady, because Brady's all grown up. He's having sex with his girlfriend. They allow the girlfriend in the house. They can hear them doing things, and it's like Steve and Miranda aren't doing anything about it, which I think is very weird. Like, you can literally hear them, like you can see like the walls and everything, and then it's like they just like, what's wrong with him? Like, why aren't you putting your foot down? Like, Miranda seemed like that person that puts her foot down in certain things, but she's not putting her foot down with her son. And it's like every second he does something wrong, it's like, you know, just let Steve handle it. But then Steve doesn't want to handle it. He just takes off his hearing aid and was like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Which I kind of always said I wanted to be like when I was older. Like, I don't want to lose my hearing, but I just want to pretend like I don't hear nobody. I want to pretend like I have hearing loss, so I can just be like, huh? What? Just make people just go away. That's messed up, but you know, I'm a little off, right? But I just feel like that's like come as a shock, because I'm like, she's not like that. So I don't know what's going on. She finally put her foot down. I think that was like the end of episode 2. She put her foot down a little bit, but it's just like she seems a little so awkward to me, because she is like, how would I say, like, there was like an altercation with her teacher. Not like a big altercation, but her teacher is a black female who had braids, you know, because that protective styling, when you have natural hair, you gotta protective style, you know. Sometimes you just gotta have your hands off it. But she was like, I guess like in a way she said a statement that kind of sounded like an insult, especially around hair. Now, if you notice, Sex and the City didn't really have a lot of black people in Sex and the City. And then there was like one episode in Sex and the City where Samantha was dating a guy who is black, and his sister didn't feel comfortable with her brother dating a white woman, right? And I thought it was weird that one time, I guess, you know, Samantha was kind of speaking like us. I don't know. And then Charlotte was like, don't talk like that. Like, that's black talk. And I was like, But then again, you have to understand the 90s was a different time. As me being a 90s baby, I kind of get it. But I feel like anybody in this generation now wouldn't understand. But as a 90 person, I get it. But there wasn't really a lot of like Black culture when it came to Sex in the City. So sometimes I used to think of myself like, was this like borderline racist? But then no one said anything racist. So that's why I was like, I don't know. But that comment with the hair kind of sounded like, I get why they did it, because I feel like nowadays, how the 90s were is like, you could say whatever you want. And if people are just so sensitive to every little statement, every little word, every little syllable, you know, you just have to really watch what you say. And just a simple comment could come off instantly as an insult if you're not careful. So I feel like she was just like, oh, you know, for the workforce, because I'm a lawyer and they want lawyers to look a certain way, that she's a teacher with braids. She didn't know that that was like acceptable. But nowadays, everybody got braids, everybody got weave. We're all just doing our thing, you know? Everybody's like, back in the days, like tattoos like this would be taboo. If I was like a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher and stuff, I can't be walking out tatted like this. But now everybody's tatted. Is just like, it's like whatever, you know. Hair colors, if I decided I wanted to dye my hair blue, I can't be performing surgery and I have blue hair. I can't be a judge with blue hair, you know. They don't look at that as professional. But nowadays the time has changed so much. It's like it's normal now, you know. That's just how everyone is. Like, you have the right to express yourself. It's not an unprofessional thing. I'm still clean. I take a shower. I put on deodorant. My hair is combed. It's just that it's just a different color, you know. But I feel like, you know, they're kind of still stuck and like how they think in the 90s, you know. So what was my original point? I feel like my original point was I was just talking about Miranda, but she just had a weird awkward moment where she's just talking way too much and they're just looking at her like she's just the old lady that rambles, right? So they're just like, that's how the first episode really tuned off. We're seeing how everyone is, everybody's having a good life, and then towards the end of episode 1, that's where and just like that moment happened. And this is what we really had to discuss. Like, at the end, now this is a major spoiler. I'm giving you the warning now. If you still watching and you don't want to be spoiled, this is the perfect time. I'm perfectly fine with you not listening or watching the rest, but this is a spoiler. For those who watched it, you already know. At the end of it, Big died. Now, I personally feel like Mr. Big, I feel like Carrie could have did more. Personally, because he sent her a text right after he was done working out, right? Right before, like, he basically caught a heart attack, right? So before he caught the heart attack, he texted her. And then by the time she got the text, they showed that she was outside trying to get a cab to go home, right? So the only thing is, like, I don't know how far the place that she was at. She went to the recital, right? And she don't know how long from the recital is to her apartment. So who knows how long he was on the floor. He wasn't able to call for help because when he fell onto the floor, his phone fell into the shower. And I guess he was in so much pain, he probably couldn't go out and grab it, right? So, because, you know, like, when you're having a heart attack, basically, like, your left side is what's hurting. I don't know if it's hurting I don't know if, depending how severe the heart attack is, if you become paralyzed on that one side, right? I don't know if you did, like, you know, I don't know too much about how you're feeling during the heart attack, but you could see the signs, like he was clearly having a heart attack, right? But when Carrie walked in, she had enough time, like he was still alert. He wasn't passed out. He was just sitting holding his arm. Like, I get it, you're screaming, asking him, oh my God, what happened? She had enough time to get up and call 911 from her phone. If she did that, paramedics would have guided her on what to do, whether she needed to do CPR or there was something that she can do until they got there. They would have guided her through it. She literally just held him the whole time. Now, he was still moving because there was a point where she held him and then he literally took his hand and put it over her like this. He's still moving and breathing, sis. I feel like she personally held him until he just died. Cause like she could have done more. And I don't know if it could have been like a shock thing. I know in emergency situations, people are not the best. Like me, I'm very level-headed. So in emergency situations, I don't panic. I just be like, okay, this is what happened. What can I do like quickly to fix it? And then I'll panic later, right? My mom is like the type, so when you tell her certain things, she'll just panic the entire time. Like, you know, so, and then gets nothing done, nothing solved. So, you know, like, I feel like maybe it could be a situation where she just panicked and just really was just, like, you have to understand, like, her history with Big and everything that they've been through. Like, this is literally the love of her life. You don't want to see anything happen to someone you care about. And especially, like, at their age, you're worried about them dying and then now living your life alone. And, like, when you get married to somebody, it's like, it's literally death do us part, you know? And now we have to part ways because you're gone. But I feel like personally she could have done more, and that was the only thing that upset me, was that I feel like she didn't even try. Like, because what happened was, it was just how the scene was, she was just holding him and crying, and then the next scene was her telling Samantha that Big died. Like, Samantha, her telling Miranda, like, you just saw Miranda going to the door, opening the door, and they're literally taking away his body. Like, I feel like, did you call paramedics after he died? Like, I don't know. I just feel like that bothered me, but I understand emergency situations is not that easy. And there's a lot to play, especially if you watch the show and you know Carrie and Big's history, everything they've been through from season 1, when they got in the when they met, got in the relationship. He wasn't sure she was the one. Season 2, they got back together, and then at the end of the day, he showed her, like, I don't know if you're the one. Then showed up, came back, like, he left for Paris, came back with a whole nother girl and married the girl. And it was like, well, how could you take someone you just met seriously and we've been together for like 2 years and you didn't take me seriously? And then he got married to a whole girl. She got in a whole new relationship, and then they had an affair together. That was like season 3. Season 4, he moved and she was crying. Season 5, they were still communicating, even though he was like half around the world. He was like in California, she's in New York. She would go see him to have sex or whatever. And then season 6, that's when he was like, you know what, I need you forever. Like, you're the one that I wanted. Like, and then from like the movies and their whole marriage thing was a problem. And then later she kissed Aiden, and it was like everything that they've been through. It was just like, wow, like he's really gone. But that was like episode 1. Episode 2 was kind of revolved around Big's funeral. I didn't really I'm not gonna lie, I didn't pay attention too much on episode 2 like I did episode 1. But I know episode 2 was revolved around Big's funeral. And I know that Charlotte felt like she was responsible because Big and Carrie was supposed to go to the Hamptons for the weekend, but they had postpone the time that they were supposed to go so she could make it to Lily's recital. And Charlotte was just, you know, crying and being frantic because she felt like it was her fault. And at the end, I feel like Carrie yelled at her and was like, well, I should have went the time I wanted to, you know? But I feel like that was just her putting her frustration on her friends. And I feel like Miranda kind of... All right, now here's the thing with Miranda. So the woman who plays Miranda, I don't remember her name. I don't know if it's Cynthia Nixon, something like that. But in real life, she's actually a lesbian, right? She has a wife. I believe she's married. But she is with a female. So in the show, you know, she's with Steve, but she was like kind of borderline flirting with the woman who Carrie does the podcast to, which I believe she said she doesn't identify as any gender. But you already know my whole LGBTQ plus knowledge isn't really there. So I don't want to say lesbian because I swear I heard her say that she doesn't identify as anything as female nor male. So I don't know if you can, you know, put like a real label on what she is. But she seemed like she was really into Miranda, and Miranda seemed like she was really into her. So I don't know if they're gonna play it as, since the real life Miranda is into females, that they might have the Miranda in the show be into females. But then where does that leave Steve? You know, so that's how I felt about episode 2. I kind of like it, the direction that they're going, because the world that they're in is so different. Like, I remember the 90s because I wasn't born in like 97. I know the 90s. I was born in 92. So I still have a lot of knowledge of the 90s. I remember the whole Y2K when we were going into the 2000s. Everybody thought everything was going to shut down. I remember a lot of things from the 90s. So I know the type of times that we grew up in and the type of times that we are now. I'd be looking at certain things like, wow. Wow, like the world is just such a different place. Like, we evolved so much. And to see where they are compared to how the world is now is an adjustment. You know, especially as like me, I was like young in the 90s, or they're already in their 30s, already established in the 90s. So can they shake off who they used to be to become a new person? You know, so I'm excited to see how the show goes. What I want to do is I'm going to continue watching the season. And by the time the last episode of the season airs, I'll make another video of what I thought about the series and this whole season overall, and if they should continue. So far, I'm intrigued. I'm interested. I like to see where this goes and how they play it up. Now, like, what's next for Carrie? There's no Big and there's no Samantha. So what's gonna happen now? Is she gonna fall in love with someone else? But then who can compare to Big? Because at the end of the day, if you remember the show, every relationship she's been in, she compared every single guy to Big. And at the end of the day, no matter how great the guys was, they just didn't compare to this one man. All he had to do was come into her life and everyone else was just to the back. But now it's like, when it comes to like death, you can't talk to that person at all. You know, it's not like a breakup where if I want you, I can try to get back with you. Like, this person is gone forever. You know, so what's going to happen with Carrie? How's she going to react to it? Like, I feel like even in her apartment, she has this apartment with him. And that was a big thing. Remember in the movie, they had the penthouse that they were supposed to get, but because the marriage got canceled, it was a whole thing with the apartment, you know? So is she still gonna live in that apartment? And she still has her old apartment. Is she gonna move back? Like, What is she gonna do to shed the memories of Big? Is she gonna celebrate him? I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm excited to find out. And if you are a fan of the show and want to talk this out with me, you know, you can hit me up on my social medias and you could comment down below. Until next time, guys, I love you all. I feel like I know my content seems like it's all over the place, but I really do talk about things that I personally am interested in, because you know, it's my channel, right? And I just hope that you guys share the same interests with me. Until next time, peace out.